Genetically modified foods are something that are extremely serious because they're everywhere. But these are the things that you want to look out for food. You know, most food has pesticides, has herbicides in it. Meat has hormones, antibiotics, dairy, soy. You know, soy is high in phytoestrogens. Most of it's genetically modified, but we have a major hormone disruption syndrome going on in the United States, and some of that's due to soy. White flour, table salt, MSG, which just makes everything taste better, gluten, microwaved foods. I mean, the Russians actually outlawed microwaves in the 70s because they were so bad. And you know, think about it. You're going to take a food and put it in a box, and you're going to put microwave energy through that food. It heats it from the inside out. It rips and tears through all the nutrients. So you could put a hamburger in the microwave and take a hamburger out of the microwave, and it might look like a hamburger, smell like a hamburger, but what it is radiated toxic mass that you're putting inside your system. So really, what you want to do is you want to have live food instead of dead food. Anything that's dead doesn't have a life force to it as opposed to live food. Daily toxins from food, maybe 200,000. Here's what's happening with GMOs. I mean, we've made a big stride with genetically modified organisms, but it's really scary because the Bt toxin is actually engineered into plants, and it's called the Bacillus thuringiensis. And what it is, it's a bacteria. It's actually a pesticide, insecticide bacteria. But the plants are manufacturing it now, and so how it's designed to work is when the bugs come on the plants and they eat the plant or the apple or whatever, it produces the Bt toxin. They get it in their body, and it ruptures their stomach and intestinal lining, and it blows up, and the bug dies. So they don't have to use a bunch of pesticides and insecticides. What's happening is the bee population is dying off because they're going to pollinate and they're getting the Bt toxin in their stomach and blowing up. The butterfly population is decreasing because the butterflies are getting the pollen on them from the plants with the Bt toxin, and their stomachs are blowing up. The whole ecosystem, and what scares me even more is what's happening to the kids right now. Because I have 2 little kids, and kids are way more vulnerable to these things than adults are. And when you have kids that are, anytime you go out to a restaurant, you have corn chips, a Mexican restaurant, you have anything made with soy, just look in your cabinet, and you're going to see a bunch of stuff in there that has soy in it or has corn in it, which is genetically modified, and probably the Bt toxin. And that's why that allergies in children is skyrocketing now. Like 1 out of every 3 children is suffering from rashes and allergies and everything else, because the Bt toxin will burn tiny holes through the intestines. And then you will get severe leaky gut syndrome, and all of these particles and toxins will leak into the bloodstream and cause an immune reaction immediately. It'll cause the immune system to attack it. So 80% of processed foods right now contain GMOs. And the GMO plants that don't have the Bt toxin are requiring more pesticides and insecticides, and it's really, really damaging the world. And, you know, we have a lot of videos and a lot of research on that. If anyone's interested, to just contact us and we'll provide that information. The next thing that's really damaging, that's contributing to the root cause of disease, is excitotoxins. And Russell Blaylock is a doctor who actually termed excitotoxins because he saw so many problems in the brain. Excitotoxins affect parts of the brain that control behavior, emotions, and sleep cycles. Okay? Guess what? Artificial sweeteners, food dyes and colorings, extremely toxic. Have you ever had your kid go to a party and, most of the food dyes are in all the different types of food for kids. And then all of a sudden they're just going through the roof, and they're, you can't understand what's going on. You're thinking, oh yeah, this is probably the sugar, which probably a lot of it is. ADD, rash, depression. MSG is a dangerous neurotoxin. And excitotoxin. And it's not, all the artificial sweeteners are, and those are things that you really, really want to avoid. All the medications that are prescribed for emotional disorders or whatever you have really are not necessary, because these are all the things that are causing those conditions. When you go into the doctor and say, I'm depressed, the doctor's not saying, okay, are you eating excitotoxins? Are you exposing yourself to heavy metals? All the things that are going to cause malfunction in the brain tissue that are going to cause your depression and your anxiety and everything else. That's why also you see the kids on Ritalin and Adderall and all these drugs. There was such a demand from people to take MSG off that the FDA and the USDA allowed the companies, the big lobbyists, to use and hide MSG under a bunch of different terms. Have you ever seen hydrolyzed vegetable protein on your label and thought it was okay? What about hydrolyzed plant protein? That sounds good. Sodium caseinate, calcium caseinate, textured protein, natural flavoring. This is everywhere. They really get by with the natural flavoring. Chicken flavoring, soy protein, whey protein concentrate. Those are all the different terms and more that they hide MSG.